Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. Shall we see what's going on in our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where we'll be relaxing as per usual. I say relaxing. It is probably far too hot, I think, to properly be relaxing. So we'll, I guess, be kind of boiling in the heat, if anything. So welcome to the 1st of July. Is the thumbnail art done? No. Will it be done after July? Maybe. So if you don't know, it's basically there's a drawing event which is going on called Art Fight for most of July, which I tends to take up a lot of my time. So it'll probably not be easy for me to do the Animal Crossing thumbnail art, but I will try and interweave it because, as I said before, I find that Art Fight tends to motivate me to draw like way more than I usually do. So we'll see. But anyway, good evening everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 9:07 PM on Tuesday, July 1st, 2025. It is boiling hot right now, and by boiling hot I mean I don't know actually how hot it is. Hold on, let me open my Google Weather app. Let's see how hot it is, because it is a lot. It's currently 27 degrees Celsius. Considering the fact it's 9 PM right now, that's pretty hot. It was like 35, 36ish I think. I have a peak today, which, you know, I'm not going to go over the whole thing again, yada yada yada. There was actually a really good video someone made about it, about why Britain's really bad in the heat. TLDR, our houses are made to keep everything in. We have no AC. We're made for winter, not for summer. Hello, random scorpion. But yeah, what are we going to talk about today? A new Game Changer episode came out yesterday. It's really hard to say because this season has been absolute banger after banger after banger. It may be one of my favourites this season. And that may just be because I find Jeremy Colhane very, very funny. But yeah, well, I mean, we're not here to talk about that because, I mean, it would be spoilers otherwise. You can go watch it yourself if you have a Dropout subscription. What should we talk about today? What am I excited for? I'm excited for Honkai Star Rail, new patch tomorrow. Mainly because I got to see how the story goes. The story is insane. I'm having such a great time following on from Amphorius. I guess we should just talk about something random. I can't think of something in particular I was going to talk about. I guess I could have talked about D&D. I'm not sure what to say because I feel like a lot of what I would say would be very similar to the session before. They learned a lot, to be honest. We still have some questions, but I think we have a decent idea of kind of what's going on. You know, things are slowly revealing themselves. Which makes sense. I mean, they are about level 9, so it's about a little, almost at halfway, theoretically, between, not sessions, between now and the end of a campaign. Theoretically. I don't think it will necessarily end at level 20. Maybe I'll stay at level 20 for a while. Depends if, you know, the story has been resolved or not. Hard to say, but there's not really much I can say about, whatchamacallit. Mainly because, as I said, it's difficult to comment on. Mainly because the things which I would comment on would be spoilers. So that would just have to sort of stay as is. Anyway, what can we talk about? I'm just trying to sort of think. I'm rolling through my head right now, just being like, what's going on? What can we chat about? Let's see. YouTube, what's going on? I have a lot of video game essay style videos also in my YouTube recommended. I don't know why there's one from Library Latin about Northern Lion and Uma Musume. You know Uma Musume, it's I would almost describe it as like a roguelike management sim idle game about girls who are horse racing. I'm actually very tempted to watch Uma Musume because I've heard it's actually surprisingly good. It's kind of like a cross between an idle anime and a sports anime or something, right? Is how I understand it. I don't really know. It sounds like a very strange recipe for anything, but you know, I appreciate those strange recipes of things which happen, things that go on. Yeah. I think the thing I find most interesting about that is the fact that Uma Musume, if you don't know, is basically a horse racing anime, but like all the horses and characters in the show are based on actual real life racehorses, and the stories which are told are based on the actual plot lines which happen in horse racing. One, I didn't know there were so many plot lines in horse racing, but I think that makes sense, because if I think about it, there's probably like plot lines, storylines in like almost any single sport, right? Especially in individualistic sport like horse racing. There's bound to be, you know, stories unfolding of like, you know, people having a triumphant return, people like never reaching the glory that they so desired, etc., etc. But I find it very fascinating, because it'd be such a strange equivalent, I think, in like Western animation, if there was such an equivalent. But yeah, I find it fascinating to have this entire anime, which is a very strange in concept in first place, this very sort of cutesy thing, to be completely based off of, okay, maybe not completely based off, I'm not going to say it's like a documentary, but say that's perhaps going a bit too far, but drawing inspiration from those real life characters and storylines. I mean, I guess that's not crazy. There's been probably lots of movies which have been made about people's actual stories and experiences. I was actually thinking about this the other day, because I was thinking, or maybe it got recommended, I don't know, somehow, now I remember, it was the movie The Untouchables, which is a French film, which had a modern remake called The Upside, and I don't know, basically The Upside was referenced at some point, and I was like, whoa, what movie is this? And I saw it, and I was like, whoa, this seems a lot like The Untouchables, and then I was like, oh, it's a modern remake of The Untouchables, like an American version. But The Untouchables is a French one, which I watched back in French class, I think, or something, one of the times, I don't know, it must have been like end of year, end of term, or that sort of thing. So like we watched it over a few perhaps French lessons. It's actually a really nice movie. I actually enjoyed it a lot, I think, from what I recall at least. But the main thing I recalled is about the general story is basically there is like a paraplegic, very, very wealthy man who is looking for a carer, and then there's some guy who applies to be a carer, not really caring that much about getting the job or something, but you know, then he gets hired essentially, and then it's like the unlikely friendship which sort of forms from that, because the guy who gets hired as a carer isn't like trained necessarily to be a carer, but he approaches things in a very different way, and he's like very entertaining and manages to connect to the paraplegic man on like a level which the other carers have not, or something. It's like he was treated as equal or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it's like meant to be quite like a feel-good movie, and it's quite sort of fun. It's probably how I describe it. The part I remember is, oh my gosh, I just minimized everything, is the carer doing a lot of abstract art or something like that, I think. But yeah, I mean, that movie, as I've learned, is based off like an actual experience someone had of, again, a wealthy man who was paraplegic, and then I think in Me Untouchables he's like from Kenya or something, but in reality the story, it was like an Algerian man or something, and the unlikely friendship which formed between the two. But part of me just kind of thinks, like, how would I feel if my life was turned into, you know, a movie or story? Like, obviously these sort of things, you kind of have to have the rights for it. I don't know what happens if a person cannot, like, give the rights to their life story. I guess for very famous people, it's something like, carried over by the legacy of a family who can give permission, right? Like, isn't that something which happens with Dr. Seuss? I honestly can't recall. But yes, I was just sort of trying to think, being like, how would I feel like if it was, excuse me, my life became a story in that regard? I don't know. I think it would kind of depend what story would even be in my life, to be honest. Because I'm not sure what about my life would be so, you know, engaging enough that it would but it would be worth turning into a story or something. Like, could it be about me playing Animal Crossing every single day? Well, even then, I'm not sure if it could be, because again, I missed 4 days. So there's probably people out there who have legit played every single day. Plus, I'm not even playing nowadays. I literally just boot it up just to sit down and talk, right? So that's kind of feels like a bit of a different thing, doesn't it? But I don't know. I mean, I guess if it was like I had a good story to tell, I think I would appreciate it in the sense I'd be like, oh yeah, we can put like collate my life experience into a story which helps inspire people or something. I guess that's putting quite a positive spin on it. I suppose you can put quite a negative spin on that as like selling your memories for money in a way. I don't know. I would like to think that whatever story I have would be a positive one, and thus would be something I'd be like, yeah, I'm okay with this being turned into a story because it's heartwarming, it's cute, it's sweet, it's something which warms the cockles of your heart or something like that. Now, will that exactly come to pass? I don't know. I'm not sure if it's something you should necessarily wish upon, it being like, oh yes, I hope my life gets turned into like a media story or a movie which inspires, well, maybe not inspires generations. I mean, because that's just like a generally positive thing, because I think wishing for your life to be turned into a story or to be worthy of being told into a story must mean a lot of dramatic things happen to it, which, in some ways you might be like, that is a life worth remembering and living, but it's also in some ways like maybe you don't want such a turbulent life. There's nothing wrong with contentment and satisfaction. It's all different strokes for different folks, as they say. I think it would be cool though to see my life turned into a story. Again, I think it would only make sense if there were something big that happened in my life which warranted it being turned into a story. I'm not like extremely adventurous, I suppose. I'm not sure if I'd have the same sort of story as the people in the Untouchables, mind you. A lot of it would just be like, me recording videos in Animal Crossing or something, but maybe there'll be like a time skip. I don't know. Maybe my life story gets told when I'm like 60 or something. But the thing is, with these sort of autobiographical stories, there's a lot of like hardship or sort of stuff that people went through. But if anything, I'd say that I'm wary of the place of privilege I end up coming from. Not have I suffered hardships in my life? Yes, but not to the extent which I think would make much of an autobiographical story. I'm obviously not going to delve into that because that's going to get very personal. But when you have these autobiographical stories, you kind of want to give a reason to root for the protagonist, right, in a way. And obviously, if it's your own autobiographical story, you'd hope you'd be the protagonist. Maybe instead of having a story literally inspired by me, it should literally created about mine. I'd rather it be inspired. Kind of like Queen's Gambit was inspired by that female grandmaster whose name I don't recall. Something like that, I'd be like, you can put your own spin on it, make it actually an engaging story with compelling and satisfying narrative arcs or what have you, rather than me just, existing, because real life doesn't exist within the realms of literary obligations. It can be random, it can be nonsensical, it can make less sense, things can come out of nowhere, people can behave irrationally, because by definition of it being reality, it's as real as it can kind of get, right? But with stories, you kind of hold it up to a different standard. You kind of hold it up to be seeing as I guess what I mean is because every element has been crafted and decided by a person, you kind of had to justify each of these moments to be like, oh yeah, like why would you create something like that if that's not what you wanted the story to do? Does that make sense? So I don't know what sort of story based around my life I would even want, to be honest. Again, I haven't lived most of my life yet, so it's kind of hard to say. What would even make sense? What would be an interesting sort of thing? Like a sort of thought experiment. Like, would you watch a movie which, theoretical world, you come to towards the end of your life and someone afterwards turns your life into a story, or gets inspired to turn your life into a story, Queen's Gambit style, and you got given a copy of that DVD now, would you watch it? And I almost certainly would. I mean, I feel like it doesn't break a space-time continuum in the sense that it's like, oh, you know, it's not literally based off my life story. It just is inspired by it. It's something which you can draw things from, you can learn a bit about and see what's going on, to be perfectly honest. I guess that's kind of what I mean. Oh my god, I'm like boiling hot. I need to get like a fan or something. I'm pretty sure I do have a fan, I just don't know where it is. Maybe I get like a piece of paper or something, hold on. Should I give it origami? Things I used. Sea animal wells. Can you hear that? You can probably hear that, so that's probably very distracting. But I'm just like, it's so honestly boiling hot right now. You know what, I think after this I'm going to find that fan I have and I'm going to use it to sort of kind of cool down. Like, I mean, I've got the window open. You might be like, why do you have a window open? Because it's probably actually cooler outside than it is inside for me right now. Just not great ventilation in my room at the moment. But yeah, I think I'd watch a movie based around my life. I'd be curious of what happens in my life that would be worth making a story about, to be honest. Maybe this is what Animal Crossing should be. Me making a thing every single day. I'll do it for like a decade or something. And then maybe I'll get a character named after me in the next Animal Crossing. A deer called D. That would be a lot of fun, I think. Maybe it wouldn't be, I don't know. No, I think it would be. Go back on my statement. I think it would be a lot of fun to be able to see something based and inspired by me, in that sense, you know? Not in like a self... I mean, I guess it kind of is a self-indulgent way, but not in like a self... aggrandizing sort of way. Just more in a way of like, I'm curious of what it would be like, you know? Anyway, on that note, I think I'll round this episode off here. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.